guess what we're going to be talking about today is the sealed indictments. Now, I don't know how many there are exactly. You guys are going to be the experts on this.
Yep.
But is it 500,000? What are we looking at here?
We're looking at just under 500,000 federal sealed indictments. And
where do we go to find that? How do we know that's real? I mean, I understand the whole Q thing.
There's so much stuff involved with Q that is you have to kind of use circumstantial evidence to prove. And, there's a lot of proofs out there, but there is a lot of stuff that we speculate that's going on that we can't necessarily tie to something concrete right now. Amazingly enough, this is one that we can. And if you don't mind, if I could share the screen right now, I can quickly walk you through it.
Yeah. So when you're saying sealed indictments of hundreds and thousands of people, I mean, does that mean we're taking the whole damn house down?
It does. I mean, this is one of those things. I know that you spoke to Mike about the secret army of 60,000 a while ago, that Newsweek article. We've all been through that. That's one of those things that kind of puts rubber to the road. But again, going back to the boards here, back in 2018, Q started speaking about sealed indictments. And as you know, when this was going on, there were anons, there were, people like us that were on the boards. Back in 2018, you see right here, there's a number of places where Q starts talking about, and it says, but interestingly, if nothing is being done behind the scenes, why are there 50,000 plus sealed indictments across the U.S.?
But that's still a long shot off from 500,000, right? I mean,
it is, but remember, this was back in 2018.
Okay.
And again, right here, think of sealed indictments and ask yourself, does Huber, the special prosecutor going to Crossfire Hurricane, have the ability to file across 50 states? Is that normal? Remember that, the 50 states. Because what happened over here on the right side is you can see that the anons started talking about Pacer. Pacer.gov. What is Pacer.gov? Pacer.gov is the official database, if you will, of all federal indictments, sealed and unsealed. You can run reports.
So it is official. You can look up the indictments there.
Yep, pacer.gov. Now, this was one of my, as I mentioned with Mike, this is one of my biggest red pills in 2020 when I started really digging into this stuff. And I saw the sealed indictments. I said, well, I want to check this out myself. Now, you have to register for a Pacer account. You have to either be a legal professional or a researcher. So I don't know if the process is still the same now, but at the time you had to send out for a password and they mail it to you. And I did that back in 2020.
Wow. And so you took all the necessary steps to be part of this website.
I did. This is actually, if you asked me, if you had put a gun to my head and said, what is the one thing that really cemented Q for you? It was this. So I mailed away for one and I got it. And back in my office in the day, I looked it up. And at the time I was like, holy crap, there really is. I think at the time it was pushing 200,000 by 2020. Because remember, we're talking about 50,000 in 2018.
So these indictments are legit.
They're legit. And what happened next is you can see on here on the right side, these people were asking Q. They said, well, if I have an idea for Pacer account holders, why don't we start doing random searches using unsealing order? And Q answered 100% authentic, telling them like, look, this is where you're going to look. You're right. You're on the right track here. So what happened next, I think probably a lot of people in your audience, if they're following Q, might have seen this sheet here. This is the one that was posted on July 1st, 2018 into the Q drops. It's showing at the time in 2018 that just from October 30th of 2017, which is about when Q started, to June 30th of 2018, there was already 40,000. As most people would know, sealed indictments are usually done in RICO cases or larger cases where there's a reason that they have to keep the information hidden from the public for reasons of security, national security, whatever it might be. So at this time in 2018, they saw 40,000. Well, they kept tracking it. And they're the ones that made the spreadsheet. They posted it to the Q boards, and Q answered them and said, good tracking. Ask yourself, is this normal? This is bigger than people can possibly imagine. Jeez. Nothing being done? Question mark. Then it says at the bottom again, ask yourself, who is filing the indictments? It would take a very large team to work this quickly. Who has that kind of manpower? It would take so long to do it. And right here, it's asking, ask yourself, does Huber have the ability to file across all 50 states? Again, it's pointing you towards there's something different going on here. This is not a DC. These are not, people think federal. This is not being prosecuted.
So this is upper echelon military, I'm guessing.
Exactly. Just to continue what we were talking about with the sealed indictments, the second piece of this paragraph that I've highlighted, if you continue reading it, it says that guidance will take into account, with appropriate consideration of military requirements, the principles contained in official guidance of the Attorney General to attorneys for the federal government with respect to the disposition of federal criminal cases in accordance with the principle of fair and even-handed administration of federal criminal law. So if you read that paragraph a couple of times, what it's basically telling you is we updated the Uniform Code of Military Justice to connect it to federal indictments.
And you think we're up to 500,000 now?
I can show you we are.
Okay.
So that same group of Anons, you got to dig around a little bit for this, but it's in there. Put the source data to that spreadsheet that I showed you before. So what these guys did is they kept going after that spreadsheet was put into the Q drops. This is all by state, by the district.
So in other words, it's proof that this is ongoing.
Yes. And if you look right here, where my arrow is, 495,114 sealed indictments.
Jeez.
And you can see on line 7259 right there, where it says Western District of Wisconsin, that they last updated this on 4/27/24.
This is huge stuff, man.
Well, I've had people ask me, well, that means there's a lot left to be done. I remind everybody that if you follow Q, it tells you that 20% is public, 80% is covert. Yeah, when you start to connect these sealed indictments to what Mike King found, that article, the Newsweek article with the secret army of 60,000, the one that talks about masks and talks about how they're embedded into corporations and universities and everything else, you can start to connect the dots. And when people are saying you're watching a movie, you can start to connect the dots as to how they're doing it, right? They have operators in some cases, and in other cases, going back to the sealed indictments, they simply took people in, RICO style, and took them into a dark room and said, here's what you're going to do. You can either do it, or we're going to take everything you own and send you down to Guantanamo. And when you really piece that together, you can start to really, it makes what the Anons, what the Q community is talking about, a lot more plausible. Because, that's been the knock on this many times is, Q has put out so much information that's verifiable. I agree with Mike when he says it stands on its own, but to the casual observer, there's some major pieces of, proof missing. Well, when you really put these two things together, the secret army of 60,000 and these sealed indictments, along with all the chaos and insanity we've seen, it really does start to paint the picture.
This makes the most sense.
Back up what we're saying.
It's like 24 hours since John McCain was put to death. And look at this circus of a hearing that's going on.
First of all, you're talking about sitting senators, and you're talking about Congress people, Maxine Waters, Mitt Romney, Adam Schiff, Bernie Sanders, President Obama, the Clintons, my father. You can't kill him again, but whatever.
Very special event, Unite for America! There's Bryan Cranston. Hey, Bryan.
Hey. Hello, hello, hello.
Where are you? Bryan Cranston! Ben Stiller. Jennifer Lopez. Where are you, Jennifer? Yes! Tracy Ellis Ross, where are you? Tracy Ellis, where are you on the screen? Tracy Ellis. Julia Roberts, where are you? And Miss Meryl Streep is in the house. I hear Chris Rock is in the house. Chris, where are you? Chris Rock is in the house.
Check when she was like the district attorney parking ticket or something.
Tracy is a regional organizing director in Nevada. Tracy, tell us how things are going for you.
The patient and the profession.